BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome back, everybody. We are ready to, well, almost ready, hopefully, to get going for the Silver Season 7 round. Blimey, what round are we on? Round 13, I think it is. Qatar is the track then we're going to be tackling here tonight then. And we have got everybody in the lobby now, it looks like. No, we don't. So somebody's just left. That's great. But we are ready to get going here then for the Grand Prix indeed. If you watched Gold last night, then you should have watched Gold last night. Then you would have seen a fantastic race as well then. But looking forward to seeing what Silver can do here in Losail then. Waiting for one more driver to get ourselves underway, and then we can crack on then. And we can get going. Right then, ready to get going then for the start of the stream. Hopefully we can get ourselves into the lobby very quickly indeed as well. And welcome along to the stream, and everybody. Welcome to Silver. And of course, we've got some bronze action here in Qatar coming up tomorrow night as well, then at 7:30 p.m. as well as the 100% League is not going to be in Qatar. They've done Qatar already last week on Wednesday. We're going to be previewing China then on Wednesday night in the 100% League. So tune in for that then later on here in ALR. Kiki said good luck to Silver. Of course, Kiki is going to be tackling the same circuit then tomorrow night then in bronze. And we're looking forward to seeing what he can do. But we've got to first tackle the silver grid, the silver race, and see what the silver drivers can do as well here as we get ourselves loaded in then to crack on then with the start then of this race, or start of the qualifying first, of course, and we will see how it's going to open up then here in the very nice night sky then of Losail. And looking forward to this one. It's going to be an exciting race indeed. And we've got, unfortunately, 19 drivers on the grid. I think somebody's going to be joining in qualifying, but we'll wait and see as we get ourselves lined up. Then 18 minutes left of 18 minutes of the qualifying session, as I should say, as we get ourselves cracking. And here we are then ready to get going here in Losail. Then we have got a couple of reserves, or quite a few reserves actually. We've got Riyadh then in the Alpine, RNG Ruck then in the Haas, partnering Farf then, and we've got Justifying the Williams, and I think we've got another Williams who's unfortunately not joined in the session, and that's why. And MHD Nick then in the AlphaTauri. Then of course MHD has done a great job then in his debut couple of races then so far in ALR. They're looking forward to seeing what he can do here in Qatar tonight then, as I think we've got ourselves into the lobby now. Everybody's just loading in, getting their setup sorted, and we can crack on then for the qualifying here in Qatar, like I said. So good stuff indeed. Welcome to the stream then. Welcome to ALR Silver. I'm looking forward to what's going to be an exciting night race. Of course, it's one of the only few night races we've got around the circuit. Although it's been added recently, we've been piling on all races, haven't we? In terms of the ALR calendar, and of course the real life Formula One calendar. 24 races now in the season. I think they're going to be trying to add a couple more to that as well, to be fair. But we'll have to wait and see how we're going to fit it all in. Then in league racing terms, I think we might have to end up just doing one season per F1 season as well, because it's going to be quite busy out there then. Right then, speaking of busy, then we've got Max then out on track first, then of course championship leader. Actually, I think he might have been pipped by. It's very close indeed between Dylan in the McLaren then, and this man here, the Ferrari of Mags, in the Scarlet car. Then looking forward to seeing what he can do. Of course, can he cement his position then at the top of the championship then with another victory here, or another big points haul at least here for Ferrari. Of course, Dylan will be looking to try and negate anything like that as well. And of course, Farf as well in P8 then in the pits at the moment. Then is in the Haas. He's currently P3 in the standings, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do as well. Then can he take a fight then to the two championship protagonists then ahead of him as well? Then of course this man here and Dylan in the McLaren. We'll have to wait and see then outlaps then for a few drivers then as they get themselves acclimatized then to this fantastic circuit. It is actually brilliant to drive, to be fair, this circuit. So looking forward to seeing what the silver driver can do around here, and I'm sure it'll be entertaining at least, at the very least, I should say. Then here comes Mags, and he is just finishing off his outlap then to set ourselves underway then for the qualifying. We should have a look and see what tyre compound everybody's on. It's all on the soft compound tyres, apart from one, which is Jinnah, who is in the Aston Martin then on the medium compound tyres for some reason, but that is his prerogative. Then he can choose whatever tyre he wants to in the qualifying, so long as he doesn't crash or impede anybody else, and that is the main thing. As we go down to turn one then here for the Ferrari then of Mags, and flying the car in then in car number 97, flying through, and he's invalidated already then on the exit of turn two. And unfortunately that's him done dusted then for his first run here in qualifying here tonight then, unfortunately for the Ferrari driver, then going wide, getting out of the way then of his teammate, and of course Gino, who is on the medium compound tyres, will ride on board with Gino. Let's see what he can do then in the Aston Martin then. Those medium compounds will be well, I think it's going to be quite an interesting stat then to see what they can do then in qualifying compared to the soft compound tyres, as we have seen quite a lot of tyre wear going on around this circuit. Then in previous races, in previous seasons of ALR, of course, we've only raced here twice in ALR's history. That was last season and this season. So there we go. That is there's not too much history books then to be written in for the ALR season, or ALR stat book then for sure in the in the gantries. But I'm sure he will be looking forward to adding some stats then for this Qatar Grand Prix tonight then, as we get ourselves underway. Good luck, says Potstuff as well then. And Hola from Gordo, of course he's speaking Spanish then, is Gordo. Unfortunately Jimmy has come back to the pit lane, so that is him done and dusted. Let's see what Craig R can do in the Ferrari, the first man to set a time on the board here tonight. But Hola from Gordo then, he's in the wrong part of the world then to be speaking Spanish. Then of course we're over in, where are we? I'm not quite sure. Craig R sets the pace then, 22.4 to set ourselves underway. Then we've got a Alfa Romeo Vessia then down the back straight up to the line, then at 21.4 then for him, as Mags I think just getting a nice distant tow then from the Alfa Romeo then as he goes down to restart his lap then on to his second attempt then going through into turn 2. This time has got himself cleanly through without any invalidations, and Dylan then up into P1 with a 21.2. That's 2.5 tenths faster than Vessia in P2 as it stands. The time is starting to tumble in now. Of course the drivers then getting their sights set. There's MHD Nick and 20.9 then for the Alpha Tauri driver. That is fantastic stuff indeed. That's 2.5 tenths faster than Dylan. So the gap's then starting to form in qualifying, although we've only had four drivers set a time so far, as we had Sweet P jump up the order there into P4 then for the other McLaren, and McLaren looking strong. Of course they're leading the constructors in silver as well. Then this is why, because they've got some great pace then in the form of Dylan and in the form of Sweet Andrew P then for that team lineup as well. Then good stuff from the McLaren pair, as TJ Hale has joined. And I think he might be the last Williams then to set ourselves up. It will get ourselves up the full grid then here tonight then, as waiting for him to get himself into the car as well then. Good stuff. The tyres are a nightmare, says Gordo then, and the hards were good in quali on Wednesday. So that is interesting. Of course, if you didn't watch the Qatar Grand Prix in the 100% League on Wednesday, I think Gordo used every set of tyre then in the qualifying, trying to find out which one was the best there. But here we go then for Mags, as Justify has left the session. Then Mags up into P2 with a 21.1, puts himself onto the front row of the grid then as it stands. Good stuff indeed. R2B then up into P4. Missed his time, but he's done a fantastic job then getting himself in between Dylan and Vessia for the time being as well. Great stuff from the Aston Martin driver, looking to get himself some big points here tonight, then turn his season around. Then so far it's not been too good then for R2B. Then let's see what he can do here in Qatar tonight. But so far so good then for the Aston Martin man. Mumford is going to be coming across the line very shortly. I think Mr. Elite is starting off his lap, so Mumford I think is next across the line in anger as we go through sector 3. They're making sure that you stay within the white lines is very difficult here, and power around, of course, around this circuit. There's well, as we were saying, I think Gordo was just illuminating it as well in the comment section. Then fuel is an issue, ERS is an issue, and tyre wear is an issue as well. Then and track limits is also an issue. So you've got every issue that you could possibly have for a circuit around this one here tonight. Then so there we go. Then 12 minutes left of the session. Then Mumford up into P5, 21.415 for him, just a thousandth away from P4 of R2B. Good stuff indeed from him. Mr. Elite will come to Mr. Elite, then he is flying through sector 2 as it stands now in the Mercedes. Let's see what the first time on the board we're going to be for Mercedes, as Mr. Elite then is tackling the circuit. Then purple, of course, in sector 2. That is looking promising stuff indeed then for the Mercedes driver. ERS light already flashing though, which is not good news, as he's invalidated coming through sector 3 unfortunately for Mr. Elite. Then that is going to be him done and dusted, I think, in qualifying for his first attempt, that is. He's still got time to come back out of the pit lane to go again though. 11 minutes left on the clock then, so plenty of time for the man to come back out on the track. Then Kamara Racer is on track. They're going through turn 1 and 2. Let's see what the Alfa Romeo driver can do. Of course, he's very akin to qualifying, putting in a good performance in qualifying. Can he keep it all together then in the races is the question then for this man here. But he's been flying through. Then he is of course a star subscriber then to the chat as well. Then putting in his fantastic donations then into the comment section last night as well in gold. So we welcome that. Of course, everything goes back into the division, into the league, I should say, to help improve the league racing I don't know, what is it? What is it? Help it improve the league racing experience, I suppose you could say. As we go through the hairpin now for Kamara, then let's see what the Alfa Romeo can do. Of course, going up to Sector 3 now. What is going to be purple? Then what's it going to be? It's purple in Sector 2 as well. Then so looking strong so far then for the Alfa Romeo car into Sector 3. This is, of course, what we saw Mr. Elite go wide then and invalidate, but Kamara Racer has kept it within the white lines now as we go through the penultimate corner. Then he's gone wide. He's twitching the car there, but he's kept it within track limits just about then as well by a millimetre of a millimetre. There we go, then down towards the start-finish straight. Then DRS, of course, activated. There's only one DRS zone around this circuit, but it still lends itself to a very fast pace. Kamara Racer up into P7, the 21.5 for the Alfa Romeo. Puts himself right behind his teammate then of Vestia there as well. Good stuff indeed. Jenner has invalidated his time, but he's in P8 as Gordo is on track as well. Then let's see what Gordo can do coming through the hairpin of Sector 2. Evening all and good luck from Serious Mushroom then in the comment section as well. Good evening to Serious Mushroom, of course, tackling this circuit tomorrow night, although he has done already in the 100% League as well on Wednesday last week, but we will have to wait and see how it's going to fare then in bronze. But here we go then for Gordo and flying through Sector 3 and purple, of course, in Sector 2 as well. Then it looks like a lot of drivers then going very fast through Sector 2 as Justify has rejoined. I think he was in the car before then, but he had internet issues, it seems, so he's got himself back in the car then. Good stuff indeed. Gordo going powering down the main straight then towards the checkered flag or the finish line up into P9 then into the top 10 then for Gordo. Good stuff indeed. A 21.8 to set himself underway. Then no hard compound tyres in sight then for Gordo, which is good stuff indeed to see as we get ourselves through the rest of the lap. Then here comes Craig R then finishing off his second attempt here. Let's see what the Ferrari driver can do. Can he get himself further up from P13 as he crosses the line to finish off his second attempt then up to the line. Then it's P8 then for Craig R. Great stuff indeed. There's a McLaren in the background. I think it might be Dylan. No, it's not Dylan. It's his teammate of 300p just starting off another lap then. But Dylan is on a lap as we go through into Sector 2. There's a Red Bull just getting out of the way there as he has done very well then to not get in the way then of this flying McLaren. Then purple once again in Sector 2 as we go through into Sector 3. Looking like he was about to run wide there, but keeping within track limits just about then. Of course, you can keep two wheels off the circuit, but you have to keep two wheels within that white line to make sure you keep yourself valid or keep the lap valid. As we go through the final corner then for Dylan, then fuel light already flashing then, but ERS light is not so bad as it stands up to the line. What can he do then? It is P2 then. It's a 21.006 then, just about outside of the 20s, 20.9s that is, but he's done a great job there indeed. And I think my time trial time is 20.9, so it's already going to be smashed then by Silver, but great stuff indeed so far. Nameless up into P3 in the Red Bull then, 21.1 for the Red Bull car. Good stuff indeed then for Nameless, who is reserving tonight in place of Ultimate Beast, I believe. So far so good in qualifying. He's very busy on circuit now. There's a lot of drivers then coming back into the pits. A lot of drivers then out on a lap as well. Then R2B. I thought that was R2B. It's Mags actually. Mags coming through into Sector 2. Let's see what Mags can do. Can he get himself an improvement enough then to take away that pole position then from MHD Nick as it stands then. But currently he is, what is that, about 0.2 of a second behind on the timing sheets then after the first attempt. Then let's see what he can do then through Sector 3 as we fly through then in the Ferrari. Good stuff indeed so far then for Mags as we go around the penultimate corner. Now there's a Alpha Tauri getting out of the way there, which is luckily they got themselves fairly cleanly off the circuit. Around the final corner now for the Ferrari. Let's see what we do when we power down towards the line, and let's see if Mags, the current championship leader as MHD, has improved to a 20.7. Here comes Mags then up to the line. It's a 20.5 then for the championship leader. Then fantastic stuff indeed then for Mags then, who is back in contention it looks like here in Qatar. Then great lap indeed then, both from MHD Nick as well, and completely missed his time, but he's done a great job then on the front row still as well. Improves to stays P2 as Mags then has displaced him down to the second place then on the grid, but still on the front row as it stands as well. So the P has unfortunately validated his time, so he's going to come back to the pit lane and start off again in 6 minutes left here in qualifying as we go through into Sector 2 now for the Alpha Tauri. Then a Mumford, can he improve then on 21.4? He's almost a 10th up on his time. That would put him in the range then of P5 of Sweet MGP as it stands, but we'll have to see if he can hold it together. Then can he improve even further even into the rest of the lap then as we go through Sector 2 now, looking to like losing the back end slightly then through Sector 2 as we go through the hairpin now. And there's a Ferrari then. There's a Ferrari then. Blimey, that Ferrari that was not too keen on getting out off the racing line, but thankfully didn't move last minute then, as Mumford now flying through into Sector 3. Then the ERS light not flashing, sorry, the fuel light flashing away then, but the ERS getting a bit low as well as we go through this lap. It is an ERS depleter. It's a fuel load depleter as into the pits comes Mumford. He's abandoned his time there. But good stuff indeed. Looking strong then in Sector 1 and Sector 2 then was Mumford. Then I think he decided to abandon his time then to come back to the pit lane and try again on another set of compound, or another set of tyres I should say then, because you don't want to use too many tyres then in qualifying, otherwise you might run out for the race. Kamara Racer then is having a bit of a race of himself then. Can he get himself as Justifiers once again left the session? Unfortunately for Justifiers, it seems like his internet is not having a great time here, but here comes Kamara Racer and looking to have a great time then in qualifying into Sector 3. Then he's 2.5 tenths up on his time almost. That will put him in the range then of a P5 if he can hold the lap together then for Sector 3. Going through Sector 3 then, keeping it within track limits. Very nice indeed. There's a McLaren, I think, no, it's a Haas just getting out of the way then as the Austrian then flies through into the final corner then of the lap. Then it's car number 69 in the Alfa Romeo then, keeping it on the track limits just about then in the final corner and powering down to the line. Let's see what the Alfa Romeo can do. Can he get himself up the order? Yes, he can. It's P5, a 21-2 then for the Alfa Romeo. Then puts himself onto the third row of the grid then as it stands. Great stuff indeed. Everybody else is in the pit lane, so that is Kamara Racing then having a nice casual in lap now as we just cruise around the Losail circuit. But great stuff indeed then. So far so good then in qualifying. It's been a chaotic qualifying in terms of the number of cars on track then all at the same time. They've calmed down a bit now as 4 minutes left of the session. Then Kamara Racer is the only one on track and then coming back into the pit lane after setting a 21.2 to put himself P5 as it stands. Good stuff indeed. Cheers, says Gordo as well. Oh, I think he's just saying cheers to Mushroom then, who is saying good luck to and good evening to Mushroom as well. So there we go. They're not saying anything about me, but there we go. Then good stuff. As like I said, Kamara is just coming back to the pit lane now as well. We've got Craig R back out on circuit then in the Ferrari. He is going to be the next to, I think, finish off the qualifying here. I think this will be his final attempt in qualifying. 3.5 minutes left of the session then before we get ourselves into the race itself. And we've got another car on track. I think it's a Williams and TJ Hale who has jumped into that Williams car then at the last minute. So good stuff indeed. And let's see what he can do. Can he improve then on 23.7 as it stands? Unfortunately, he is the slowest of the time runners. And both the Alpines are stuck in the pit lane, it looks like. So unfortunately, they are not having a great time then in the Alpine garage. And similar to what they're doing in real life, I think they're just sitting at the back then and cruising around. Well, they're not cruising around in qualifying, these two, because they are sitting in the garage and not coming out the pit lane until the last minute potentially. We will wait and see. Craig R then is going to be getting ourselves through this outlet then and on to the last flying lap then for this Ferrari. I think we might see Mags come out of the pit lane very soon as well. But I think this will be his last attempt here in qualifying. Let's see what Craig R can do then. Can he improve then on a P10 at 21.781 as it stands? And another one who's very good in qualifying, but unfortunately has not had the luck in the races. Let's see if that turns around here tonight as well. 2 minutes left of the session as we cross the line to start off Craig R's final lap here in Qatar for qualifying, that is. Hopefully not the final lap then for himself tonight overall. But there we go. An evening from Rocket Lisa as well in the comment section. Good evening to himself, to you, sorry, to yourself, is what I'm trying to say. As Craig R then flying through Sector 1 there, as of course Rocket Lisa is going to be taking on the track here tonight as well, tomorrow night I should say, then in bronze. So looking forward to seeing what he can do, of course, after his best result of the season last week in Japan. So very good stuff indeed then to Rocket Lisa. So hopefully he can carry that form on then for the rest of the season then. But here we go then for Craig R then, looking to carry on the pace then in qualifying here tonight then. Into Sector 2 we fly. So far, so good then for the Ferrari man as we get ourselves into the hairpin now of Sector 2, then coming up to Sector 3 as the McLaren in ahead of us. Hopefully that McLaren gets out of the way then quickly enough. And yes, he does then. Good stuff indeed then into Sector 3 now. Let's see what the timing delta is saying. It's 1/10 of a second down on his time. Unfortunately, that is not what he needs. He needs to try and find a 10th. He needs to try and find more than a 10th then in Sector 3 then to get himself further up the order then for the rest of this qualifying lap. Then let's see what he can do then through into the corner. He's back in the pit lane. He's abandoned his time, unfortunately, as Justified rejoined for the third time. But Craig then he's done enough in qualifying, unfortunately, then for the Ferrari man. He is finished here in qualifying P10 at best then in this race, or for this race, for the start of this Qatar Grand Prix. Then it's coming up in a few minutes, or about 2 minutes time to be fair. Once this qualifying is done and dusted, we'll get straight into the race itself, so stay tuned. But at the moment I think we've got RNG Ruck then, who is tackling the circuit. Then he's into sector 2 now. He is on a flying lap then. We'll see what he can do. Where is the Williams then of TJ Hale? He's just started off a lap, then he's gone very wide then at turn 1, unfortunately for TJ Hale. That might be him done and dusted in qualifying purple versus for RNG Ruck, sorry, as we go through into sector 3. There's a lot of cars then getting in the way then. Hopefully they get themselves out of the way before we get ourselves onto the start-finish straight. Then here comes the Haas then round the final corner. Then ERS like flashing away. We might get distant tow then from that Ferrari who's just starting a lap here as well. Here comes RNG Ruck then up to the line. What can he do then? It is P10, then displaces Craig down to P11, then into the points then, or into the top 10 I should say, as it stands then for the Haas driver. Good stuff indeed. We've had a couple more drivers finish their times as well. Nameless P4 Camaro Racer is done and dusted in P5. Then Mr. Elite stays P16. Yellow flags as a Haas going off the circuit and crashing into the brake marker boards. Then that is not good news. Justify is done and dusted. I don't think he got himself back in the car in time. Both the Alpines are going to be starting at the back of the field, unfortunately for them, as we've got Dylan coming around the final corner. Let's see what Dylan can do then. Can he improve on a 21.6 or 0.006 I should say, then get himself into the 20s, 20 point somethings, then 20.8 then for Dylan, stays P3 as it stands as well. Then good stuff though from Dylan, then on to the confirming his place there in second row of the grid as it stands as well. We've got Jenner then crossing the line, then goes into P10, 2.5 10th improvement then for the Aston Martin. Good stuff indeed. Williams back in the pit lane of TJ Hale. I think I'm abandoning his time then. Yes, there is an Alfa Romeo there, but he's invalidated his time. There's not an Aston. There's a Alpha Tauri then of MHD Nick right behind him though as we go up to the line. Then he stays P2. Then it looks like Mags then could have this locked out. He's come back to the pit lane, has the championship leader there, but he doesn't need to improve on a 20.5 as it stands. Then currently he is looking strong then to get that pole position under his belt, unless Mumford can do something about that. Let's see what Mumford can do. Then coming up to the line as we cross the line now for the final time then for Mumford, it's P8. Then he improves then by a tenth of a second then to get himself ahead of R2B. Then we've got a Mercedes in the background. I think that's Gordo. Is it Gordo? Where is Gordo? He has got himself up into P7 then as Gordo completely missed it, but well done indeed then to Gordo. Sorry about that, Gordo, but he's done a great job there nonetheless, as I think that's Irvine then coming back to pit as well. Irvine is done and dusted. He's going to be starting in P15 and that is him done and dusted in qualifying as well, and that is qualifying finished as well here in Qatar for Silver, that is. Definitely gold pace is Mags. There's Serious Mushroom then. I think Serious Mushroom, you are gold pace in my eyes as well, so there we go then. We'll run through the classification then quickly for the qualifying here in Qatar. Bear with me 1 second, I need to turn my light on. There we go, now I can see. Yes, we will run through the classification, then we're just waiting for the Red Bull to get wheeled away back to the pit lane. And there it is then. Mags then takes pole position then for Ferrari. A great qualifying lap indeed. Then MHD Nick is in P2 then on the front row then for his second reserve appearance as well. Dylan in P3, Nameless P4, Camaro Racer P5, Sweet Angel P in P6, Gordo in P7, Mumford in P8, R2B in P9, and Vessia rounds off the top 10. Jenner in P11, then RNG Ruck, then P12, Craig RP13, Farf P14, Irvine P15, Mr. Elite in P16, Justify P17. Hopefully he can stay in the lobby for the next 29 laps. Then TJ Hale in P18, and unfortunately both the Alpines didn't get a time on the board.
BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Right, then we're almost ready to get going, waiting for the drivers then to get their setups and their fuel loads, more importantly, and everything like that sorted then before we start the 29 laps here in Qatar then for Silver Season 7 around 13. There we go then. We will have a quick look at the telemetries and whatnot as well, and see what everyone else is doing on the circuit. No, we don't want that, we want that. We're ready to get going here. Right then, we have got a bit of a combination then of tyre compounds, as we've got a bit of an even split between mediums and hards. I'd say the majority on the hard compound tyres, and we've got one runner then of TJ Hale on the soft compound tyres. That was an interesting strategy call, to say the least. It's not a fair track then for the tyre wear, that is. So we'll have to wait and see then how that is going to play out then. Potentially a two-stop then for the Williams car. We'll have to wait and see then. Down in P18 then, medium compound tyres for Riyadh in P19, same for Justify in P17, RNG Ruck then in P12 on the medium, same for R2 Beat in P9, same for Gordo in P7 and Camaro in P5. Everybody else on the hard compound tyres and looking to go for a very long first stint then. Mediums to hards or hards to mediums is the recommended one-stop strategy. We might see some two-stop strategies here as well. We will have to play it by ear and play it by eye when we find out, because we don't know, and we don't know what the drivers are thinking right now. They might be planning all sorts of strategies in their heads. There might be plan B's, C's and D's and all sorts of Z's as well. We'll have to wait and see how they decide, as Justify has left the session again. Then unfortunately Justify, I think that can be him not being able to take the start of this Grand Prix, which is a bit of a shame then, because he got himself back in the car 3 times in qualifying, and now he can't take the race start, which is a big shame as we go through into the formation lap. Then just getting ourselves set and ready to get going for the start of this Grand Prix. Then Mags, of course, on pole position, then taking us away, then trying to get himself in contention or take himself further ahead then in the Championship League. We will have to wait and see. Evening from Vintage and evening from the star listener, the star watcher of the streams. Then great to have Vintage with us, of course, and he of course will be tackling this circuit as well tomorrow night. So quite a lot of bronze drivers then getting their eye and then trying to find out what the best strategy is going to be then for tomorrow night as well, which is a good way to do it. To be fair, you can learn quite a lot then from watching the races beforehand. As why I definitely used to do them when I was a young league racer up and coming, but now I'm in the end of that cycle, and I'm falling off the end. But there we go then. Never mind that. We will get ourselves lined up then for the start then of this Qatar Grand Prix, waiting for all the drivers to get themselves into their grid slots, and we can crack on then for the start of this racing. I'm not quite sure if Justify is going to be able to take the race start. Like I said, he's not actually in the car, I don't believe. So his car himself might be parked up then on the grid somewhere else. Right then, the 5 red lights are coming on here in Qatar. Then the 5 red lights are on, then the 5 red lights are off, and away we go then for the start of the Qatar Grand Prix. Justify's car has flown through the field then, but I think it's still an AI, so we'll have to discount him, unfortunately. Then we'll have a look and see what's going on. There's a Williams there in the background, then there's going to be good contact between the Mercedes and the Williams there into the background as well. We'll have to go back to the start then, back to the front I should say then, to see what's going on out here. Mags and NHD Nick then battling away. Then there's a Williams then of Justify who is not in the car. Then he will be overtaken very shortly, I believe. Junior Investi then battling away then in the back of the field and into the points, I should say, then for Jenna. Then good stuff indeed. We'll have a look at the position changes as well then. But here we go then. There's the AI of Justify will be demoted down the field then very quickly indeed on this lap then, as everyone gets through into sector 2. It seems cleanly enough. No changes then in the top 3 then. 13 places of Justify, but of course that will be discounted then. Medium compound tyres for Gordo, and he's flying up into P4 so far, looking good indeed then. Nameless coming through into P5, Mumford getting through into P6. There's going to be all sorts of changes and top-end changes as that Williams car is trying to get himself he's not even in the car, he's Justified, but he is going to be overtaken very quickly indeed then by the rest of the runners then who are coming through then. Kamara Racer unfortunately has lost out 8 places then. He's had an issue then. He's got wing damage and has Kamara Racer then at some point then in the opening stages of this lap then, as he comes through into the pit lane, I think he will go then to get that wing change sorted, or wing change on that car as quickly as possible then. But unfortunately that is costly indeed. Then into the pits comes quite a lot of drivers. Then Mr. Elite is also in the pit lane, same for TJ Hale, same for Craig On, same for Irvine. Then that is bad news indeed for at least 4 or 5 drivers there. And unfortunately they are going to be into the pit then to change their front wings, I believe. We will wait and see then. Wing change then for no, it's not for Mr. Elite, is it? Yes, it is for Mr. Elite then. Same for Camaro, same for Craig R as well. No, it's not. It seems like Craig R has had Craigar has just gone for his strategy call then. I'm not quite sure if it was a very quick wing change or not then, but Craigar dropping down the field, then TJ Hale the same, then same for Irvine as well, as they all piled down the pit lane now, getting themselves back out onto the order then, out in front, then Max holds onto the lead, then MHD Nick in P2, Dylan in P3, Gordo up 3 places into P4, looking strong so far on those medium compound tyres. Nameless then has dropped down 1 place, but he's still in the fight then on those hard compounds in the Red Bull as he goes through sector 2 now as well. Mumford has got the flashing of the screen, I think there is just Justified rejoining back then, but unfortunately as Reflection picks up the first penalty already then on lap 2. That is bad news for Reflection. Of course, penalties are very easy to come by around this track limits, them being so brutal, but unfortunately for Reflection, he's the first driver then of the night, but I think we might see quite a few drivers then pick up some penalties as we go through this race itself. Then all over the back then of Swear P then is the Alfa Romeo of Vessia, then is into the final corner, no moves being made, then DRS of course is activated then at the end of lap 3. Into the pits comes Justified. I'm not quite sure how he got damaged, because if he was in AI for the start of the race, then he shouldn't have any wing issues. But he is coming into the pit lane nonetheless then, unfortunately for Justify. That is him into the box then, as Reflection has got another penalty. Justify is retired in the pit lane, so I'm not quite sure what is going on there for the Williams car, but he seems to be having all sorts of issues then, so I think that's him out of the race then already. And well, that was thanks very much for turning up then. So there we are. Vessia and 300p there, they are battling then through into sector 1 and into sector 2 now, I should say, as well, then, as Vessia has got himself ahead then into the hairpin we go, then almost into the back then goes Jinner, as Justified has left the session. Unfortunately, Jinner then losing the car then, and Farf is going to get himself interested in the back of that Aston Martin, but can't quite make the move then as we go into sector 2 now. Been a bit of a sandwich then is Jinner, is Farf there, but he's trying to go around Jinner then in an unorthodox place on the circuit, let's say, but he has not been able to make the move then just yet. As Farf then is breathing down the neck then of that diffuser then of the Aston Martin. They're all over the back then into trying to get himself into P9. Then he's in the points pay positions already, gained 4 places then from the starting positions as we go through sector 3 now, as we're getting a nice flowing run. Then of course the dirty air from the car ahead can unsettle the car, then you can lose your momentum then at some stages then through sector 3, but so far everybody else has got themselves through unscathed, which is good to see. Tomorrow then he's back underway, then he's lost 10 places, but he's on a fresh set of tyres now. Let's have a look and see what tyres he's gone onto. He's onto the hard compound tyres, looking to go along then in this first stint. Then RNG Ruck then has been overtaken by Riyadh, then up into P12 then, as we've got Gordo and Nameless then battling away then through turns 2 and 3 into P4. Stays P4 for Gordo just about then, but he's on the medium compound tyres trying to keep up then with the top 3. He is within DRS range then, but Nameless I think then is trying to use those hard compound tyres to his advantage already as we go on to lap 4 as well here. But into the hairpin we go now, as Nameless and all over the back, and almost into the back of the Mercedes as well. Then the Mercedes twitching on the exit as well, and almost keeping the car under control then was Gordo then, but Craigar is back in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Craigar there, but he has had an issue once again then as Craigar, and he's got another wing change then for the Ferrari car. Unfortunately for Craigar, it's not going his way out there at the moment. And Justifies that the PS5 keeps shutting off, so I think that's why his internet was, well, not why his internet, but why his interesting flashing up and on, flashing on and off then in the qualifying then has reared its head in the race as well. Then unfortunately for Justify, then that is why he is out of the race with his technical difficulty, we could say. Unfortunately then for the Williams car, evening from Vintage and evening from Mushroom and evening from Rocket, then so good stuff indeed. And overheating, says Serious Mushroom. I think that's what was going on then for the PS5 then for Justify then. But into turn 1, not quite then for MHD. Then he stays behind Max for the time being. But I think he's going to be very conservative right now, just saving up some ERS. Of course, it's like I said, it's a fuel burner, it's an ERS burner, it's a tyre burner, and it's a track limits burner as well. You can say yellow flags for Craigar. Then he's had an issue somewhere. It's a safety car. And what has Craigar been up to? Then it seems like he's caused a safety car on lap 4. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue then for most drivers. They're going to be either coming back, either staying out, I think, or the majority of them, or they're going to be trying to catch up with the back of the queue then for the likes of Tomorrow Racing, Mr. Elite, the likes of TJ Hale and Irvine as well then. But Craig is going to be having a bit of a difficult strategy here, because he needs to try and stay to the delta. He also needs to get himself a new front wing, but I think the problem that he's going to have if he pits now is that he's going to be lapped behind Mags then as well, because they are adhering to the delta as well then, but I don't think he's got a pit stop in hand then for Craig. If he can hear me, stay out then and go around another lap then, but I'm not quite sure he's going to hear me, and he has not heard me, so there we go then. Unfortunately, Craig, I think he's going to be lapped then at this in this next part of the race then already then on lap 4. Unfortunately, Craig, if he stayed out then, he would be able to go back round again even without the front wing, just catch up to the safety car queue, or wait for the safety car to catch up the the leaders of the pack then, and we could then get ourselves, he can get himself back on the lead lap. Unfortunately, though, he's decided to come into the pit lane. Into the pit lane as well then is Mags. Then Mags from the race lead then is into the box, and he's calling it a day on the hard compound tyres already then. Same for Jinner then, same for Riyadh, same for RNG Ruckman, and same for Reflection. There all sorts of pit lane activity then here as we get ourselves on to lap 5 then. And yeah, like I said, unfortunately for Craig then, he has been lapped then, that's why he needed to stay out for one more lap, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame then, because unfortunately you can't unlap yourself under safety cars in this game, and you haven't been able to be fair, in most games under safety cars. So there we are then. Jinner has come out ahead of Mags then, so Mags has had a slow stop there somewhere. Potentially he might have got some wing damage entering the pit lane there, so the championship leader then, who was on pole position then, who was in the lead of this race as well then, is down to P11 as it stands after that slow stop, at least then, because he's lost out to Jinner then majorly then in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. So interesting. I'm not sure what is going on here, but there we are then. We have got that's what we've got so far then. So there we are. We have to wait and see how it's going to play out then. Potentially Craig could get himself back on the lead lap if he just stays out then and stays with the pack. Then of course he needs to try and stay with the leaders then to get himself unlapped then when they do come into the pit lane. Of course, there's the top, where is it? The top 9 have not pitted. Actually, to be fair, Qatar Racer and TJ Hill and Irvine have pitted then, but they pitted on the end of lap 1 then for their damage then that they sustained then on the opening lap then. So there we go then. Safety car has been deployed then, waiting for Mr. Lee to catch up to the back of the queue. Then he is going through sector 1 now. The safety car is just started in sector 3. So we've got a sector in between them before we can get ourselves back underway. I think we'll be back underway at the end of lap 7, then on to lap 8 then. So bear with us whilst we get the safety car out of the way. But so far it has been a bit of a chaotic start then for Silver then. Of course, if you watched Gold, or you should have watched Gold then, last night then you would have seen that no safety cars, no VSCs, absolutely brilliant stuff indeed from Gold, as it was a very fast pace as well then. So very good stuff indeed from Gold then. No safety cars then around Qatar, I think is quite a good feat indeed then, because it seems like any slight incident then, and you are flying off into the gravel then, and it calls out the safety car nonetheless. So there we are then. Into the pits comes Irvine, then he's already back in the pit lane after that opening lap then. He is calling it a day there on the medium compound tyres, and back in the box then for the Red Bull team. Then what's he going to go on to next? It's another set of hard compound tyres, actually a same set of hard compound tyres, because he's done one lap on them already. So interesting stuff indeed then. We will have to wait and see what his strategy is going to be like then, as Williams off the back of the field then, off the circuit then. Mr. Elite's gone through then into P17, I could say, as P18 then is now occupied by Irvine, who's coming out the pit lane now, and hopefully he can catch up to the safety car queue quickly enough then to get ourselves back underway then at the end of this one. A lot of strategy talk in the comment section, so I don't want to get involved in that. It's too complex for my brain. But there we go then, as we get ourselves through into sector 2 now. We're just waiting for Irvine then to catch up to the back of the pack, and we can get ourselves restarted, I think, here in Qatar then. On to lap 8, then we'll be getting ourselves back underway on green flag running, and waiting to see how it's going to unfold here as well. Then Riyadh then up into P12, then he has gained, we'll have a look at the position changes quickly whilst we're on the safety car. He has gained 7 places, then has Riyadh then, after not qualifying, unfortunately. He had a bit of an issue then getting himself out of the box then. Same for Reflection though. Reflection's picked up a penalty, but he's gained 6 places as well. So good stuff indeed with him. Farf gained 6 places in P8 now. Same for Vess here, up 5 places, up 4 places for Gordo into the podium places as well now, with Mags pitting then under that safety car. Very odd decision, I think, there for the race leader and the pole position sitter. But he is down to P11 as it stands now as well, onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres. We will come back to that, I'm sure, at the in the next phase of the race. The safety car is coming in this lap though. and we will be able to get ourselves back underway and back racing very shortly then, as MHD Nick then will lead us away then for the restart of this Grand Prix on to lap 8 then. Safety car pinning away into the pit lane now. And we can crack on then. So looking forward to seeing what MHD Nick is going to do then on this restart. And when is he going to go is the question. And is he going to go then now, or is he going to wait to the last minute then? It looks like he's going to be waiting to the last minute, which I absolutely hate. But there we go then. As there's all sorts of issues then on the in the background as well. Then MHD Nick has gone, and Dylan then is all over the back then of the AlphaTauri as we go down towards turn 1. There's a Mercedes then of Gordo waiting in the wings then as we go into turn 1. Then Vess here and Nameless then battling away. Then down the inside goes the Alfa Romeo. There's accidents and incidents all over the place, I think there. Sweet has got himself past Mumford and up into P6. Then they've got to restart then from him. Mags has stayed P11, I think there. But I think there was somebody who dropped down the order there. I'm not quite sure who it was though, as TJ Hale picks up another penalty, unfortunately, for the Williams car. Then he is struggling out there at this stage, as we've got Irvine then all over the back of him then for company as well. Then as we go into sector 2 now, there's Mumford then trying to go down the inside then of the ground. That's going to be tight indeed then, but he hasn't taken the move. And thankfully they both get themselves through without spinning the car as well then. Into sector 2 we go then. It's almost nose to tail as we go through here, as Mr. Elite and Kamara Racer are battling away then. Kamara Racer is lost out then to the Mercedes as we go through, as Mr. Elite's on much fresher, or only 3 lap fresher, but fresher hard compound tyres nonetheless then, as we go into sector 2 or into sector 3 very shortly as well then for the Mercedes and for the Alfa Romeo then. Irwin has got himself past TJ Hale, who's had a bit of a problem and he's lost 3 seconds to the pack. And I'm not sure what's happened to TJ Hale, but he's struggling out there. Craig Orr has lost out as well, then he has dropped down the field, and Jinner has picked up a penalty. That is the first penalty for Jinner. Then he's on the fresh medium compound tyres. He's pushing hard. Then he's all over the back of his teammate now as well, as we go down towards the egg. I thought there was the Ferrari then trying to make a dive down the inside at the final corner, but not quite. Then I think he thought very wisely about that, because that could be very catastrophic indeed for both him and for the other car as well. Then Vess here has got himself up into the podium places ahead of Gordo now as well. Into turn 1 we go, and in the background we've got McLaren and a Red Bull then battling through turn 1 as well, side by side. Then Sweet has got the position, I think. Has he? Yes, he is round the outside. TJ Hale's retired in the pit lane, and that is the second retirement then of the race. Both Williams cars out of the Grand Prix, as Sweet and Nameless and battling away. There's a bit of contact with him, with a bit of rubbing his racing, but thankfully they are okay. Then R2B has been overtaken, I think, by Mags then into sector 2, into sector 1 I should say. Then there's a Jinner, then going down the inside of Farf then on these medium compound tyres, and now there's a Ferrari all over the back of the Haas as well. There's swarming all over the back of that Haas now on those fresh tyres. But thankfully, oh my goodness, the exit speed then from Max was fantastic. They're all over the back now, and that diffuser then of the Haas, but he can't quite get himself past. Then Jinner's gone wide, then Farf now getting into it in the Aston Martin. TJ Hale left the session after that retirement in the pit lane. Both Williams cars out on lap 9. Unfortunately then for Williams, then not a good performance here in Qatar. Then Max then pushing the car through, but he can't quite stay with the dirty air then from the Haas, from the pair of the cars ahead of him as well. To be fair, there's all sorts of dirty air flying off those cars ahead of us. But into the final corner then, is he making a lunge? Not quite. Then he's almost into the back end of the Haas right in front of us. Then onto lap 10 we go. Into the lead. It's it's not status quo. Then as we've got what was that? No, it's a Red Bull. Then sorry, I thought it was further up the order. Then it is Nameless. Then going for a move. Then down the inside of the Sweet P. Then into turn 1 and Jinner. No, it's not Jinner. Yes, it is Jinner. Then Jinner's going for a move down the inside. There's contact between the two cars. Then Sweet P holds on to the place just about. Then Mumford's trying to go down the inside here as well. Then sneaking his way through. But can he hold it is the question. Then Jinner has got himself back ahead. Then here he comes then on the inside of Sweet P. Then into turn 4 as he comes to position. Yes, he does. He's got himself back through. Has the Aston Martin. Fantastic stuff indeed. Great battling then as Mags then coming around the outside then of McLaren as well on those fresh medium compound tyres. The medium compound tyres of Jinner and for Mags are starting to work wonders here as well then. As the laps kick on as well, then they'll be favouring those who have pitted, of course, in the last lap or two. But we will have to wait and see how the strategies are going to unfold here in Qatar. Then this is going to be exciting stuff indeed. Then so far it has been a pretty good racing out there as well. MHD Nick and Dylan then are trying to check out in the distance. They've got a 1.2 second gap then to Vessia, who is starting to drop off the top 2 as it stands. Then in the Alfa Romeo, then onto the podium places there for Vessia. Then can he hold on to it? Is the question now. Gordo all over the back on the medium compound tyres. Then Gordo is going to be very worried, I think. Then he's seeing Jinner and he's seeing Mags then on those fresh mediums, then straight down behind him as quickly as possible then, which is not what Gordo is wanting to see, I don't think. Into the race lead. We're going to see a change then for the race lead. We go down towards turn 1, then MHD, Nick, then and Dylan. Then Dylan takes the lead then into turn 1, down the inside, then ahead of the AlphaTauri then as well. Good stuff indeed. Vessia holds on to P3 ahead of Gorda. Then Nameless and Jinner then switching places. Then Nameless is on the outside. Then he's been forced off wide, has he? Not quite. I don't think that. But Jinner then had the place. Then he had the position. Then and now there's a Ferrari involved as well as we go down towards turn 4. Nameless slots in behind, and I think very wise then from Nameless. Then of course he's a great racer, is Nameless. He's done some great races in gold as well. But he of course is just reserving here tonight. Then there's Jinner, then and Max, then getting side by side as well. Then as we go out of the hairpin, then Max has got the position, has he? Or is he going to be side by side again? Then through into sector 2, there's contact between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin as we get ourselves through, and the Aston Martin has got himself ahead. Then the Ferrari then losing out then on the traction, I think, then, and a bit of contact, I think, to go with it as well. But there we are then. So far, it is looking spicy out there. Then on to lap 11 of 29. Then we've had one safety car already. Then it is hopefully going to be that is that then for the safety cars. But it has been an entertaining Grand Prix so far. Not even halfway distance just yet, and it's already spicing up here in the desert. Then as well. Then here we go. Then here comes Jidda. Then on the back now of Gorda. Then Gorda just holding on to DRS. Then of Vessia out in front. Then here comes MHD Nick. Then can he make a move back for the race lead? Then as we go down the main straight once again. Then on to lap 12. Here comes the AlphaTauri. There's a yellow flag in the background. It's a yellow flag. I have to switch off to the other AlphaTauri who's lost out, I think, to the final corner. Then he's lost out then to Riyadh as well. Then unfortunately for Mumford, then he's dropping down the field. Then yellow flags in the background as well. What's going on here? I think it's Kamara Racer having some issues in the background there. RNG Nick then and Swim repeat battling away. Then as round the outside goes the Haas. Then he's got a penalty for his troubles, but he's got the position at the same time. Then as up into P11 now goes the Haas then of RNG Ruck. Then into P11. Like I said, he's got the penalty now, but he has got himself some fresher tyres compared to the rest of the field ahead of him. Far picks up a penalty as well, just as his teammate does. So does Farf then. Unfortunately then for Farf, then he's got himself a time penalty to be added onto his race time at the end of the Grand Prix as well. The penalties will start to rack up. I'm sure we will see the penalties start to rack up as we see a lot of drivers then start to exceed the track limits and around this circuit, and very easy to do. And I'm not. Don't be afraid. I've done it myself. Right, I'm running over to the back of the house. I'm not quite sure I said that, but blimey if I did, I'm very sorry. But there we go then. So far so good then in the top of the order then, as we've got yellow flags. Then it's Kamara Racer who's having another issue then somewhere. He's got himself back on the circuit then as Kamara, but unfortunately he's not having a great time out there. He has, I think he's got all of his front wing intact. Then into the pits comes Riyadh, then 7 laps on the hard compound tyres. Odd strategy then for Riyadh. Then not quite sure what is going on here for the Alpine driver then, but he's into the pit lane nonetheless. What is he going to go on to next then is the question. Then has he got some wing damage that he needs to sort out? Yes, he has. He's got wing damage then, unfortunately, for the Alpine, and back underway then he will go. Then he's got to sort that wing change out first. R2B and Mr. Elite battling away. Then R2B on the older medium compound tyres then is starting to drop off then compared to Mr. Elite on those fresher hard compound tyres. He pitted under the safety car 4 laps younger than for Mr. Elite. Camaro has retired then in the pit lane. I think an issue then for Camaro Racer, but he's done and dusted in this race already. Then 3 retirements and 3 in the pit lane as well. Unfortunately then Riyadh is back out, then back underway. Then hopefully he can get himself back in the fight with pit stop still to come then for the drivers ahead of him as well. Then Craig R then unfortunately has been lapped then, so that is why he's at the back of the field. Then he is going to be down in P18 unfortunately until unless somebody else has an issue. Then we will wait and see. Then Dylan and MHD Nick checking out in the distance, and they're both into the fight then for the race win. As it stands, that is of course their race lead. Then of course they haven't pitted just yet. There are drivers who are pitted behind them, and Jinner then's all over the back then of Gordo as we go into sector 3 now, and he's going to be lining up a move very shortly, I think. Then on the back of that Mercedes in yellow flags then for Kamara's car, who has not parked himself off the track just yet. Hopefully he does so before they get themselves through. Gordo is in the pit lane. Gordo has called it a day then on those medium compound tyres already. Good stuff indeed from Gordo. Then a good stint as we get ourselves into the pit lane for Gordo. Down towards turn 1, and Vessia then is 2.3 seconds back then from the top 2. They haven't switched places just yet. Then Kamara has left the session. Unfortunately, he has not had a great race here. Then Mr. Elite then is on the back of Sweet 100p. Then he's got himself through now on those hard compound tyres, those fresher tyres as well. Then as we go through turns 2 and into turn 3 as well. Then Mr. Elite then almost losing the car, it looked like, then through the Mercedes. Then he's having a bit of trouble then on the traction, it looks like, but he's got himself composed once again then all over the back now of R2B then into potentially the top 10 very shortly as well. Then we'll have to wait and see if he can get himself past the Aston Martin then for that P10 position. Then got R2B holding on very nicely so far. Gordo has come out. Where is Gordo come out? He's down in P15 is Gordo. Then he's on a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Can he get to the end of the race from there? I think he can, but can he get himself past the rest of the field that he was fighting? Then of course he was fighting with Ginner then of course at the very end of that stint, but he decided to come into the pit lane and to abandon the medium compound tyres. But that will be an indicator then for the rest of the drivers then who are on medium compound tyres. Then 13, 14 laps or so then on the mediums, and that will be them done and dusted. Then can Mags get themselves to the next window? Oh dear, there Ginner now off the circuit almost. He's got himself pointed in the right direction just about then, but losing the car then through the penultimate corner. Then he has lost out to the DRS then of Vess here as well, which is going to be very costly indeed then, because here comes Nameless with that rear wing open as well then. Mario's luck this season is so bad, says Mushroom. Yeah, unfortunately it has been really. He's done a great job in qualifying. It's just not materialised in the Grand Prix themselves, which is a big shame then, because we know what he can do in the Grand Prix. We can know what he can do in qualifying for sure in the previous seasons of ALR, and of course in previous races of ALR as well. Then so unfortunately, or fortunately, hopefully it will turn around for him next season, but we'll have to wait and see. But he's done a great job in qualifying, and he's done a great job then of soldiering on this season as well. And he has got himself some good points as well in various races, and so hopefully next week that can turn around then in China, of course, in a week's time, here in silver, then of course China for gold, silver and bronze in a week's time, that is, as well then. But we'll talk about that at the end of the stream then, because we're going to watch this then. So far Nameless is all over the back now of Ginner. Then the medium compound tyres I think starting to drop off now for the Aston Martin, potentially for the Ferrari of Mags as well. They are staying with the hard runners, but they're not gaining as much as they once were. So unfortunately, I think this is where the phase then of the medium compound tyres is starting to drop off now. And we hope they would have been hoping to get themselves further through the field, I think, as well, then into the range then of Dylan and of MHD Nick as well. But unfortunately, not the case as it stands. Then into the pits comes Dylan. Then he's coming in from P2. Besser is also following him in as well. Then into from P3 into the box. Then Ginner carries on. Then here comes Nameless. Then down into he's going to be taking a P3 away then from those who have just come into the pit lane. There's a lot of pit activity. There's Mr. Elite. No, it's not Mr. Elite. Sorry, Mr. Elite carrying on. Then Reflections carrying on as well. Then Dylan. Mags is in for a wing change. Mags has got some problems then in the Ferrari. Unfortunately for Mags, then he's not having a great time out there. He's had made an early stop then, which I think was a bit of a mistake then in terms of the strategy then as well. But unfortunately for Mags, he's coming for a wing change. 300p has come in as well, and he's almost jumped the Ferrari car as we go trundling down the pit lane once again then. As we've got Rhea then coming out the pits, coming down the straight. Then he's done 3 laps on his medium compound tyres already. Then he's set the fastest lap of the race then on to lap 16. And here comes R2B out of the pit lane now. Hard compound tyres then for the Aston Martin. Can he get himself back in the range then of the points pair positions? Penalties not racking up as quickly as I thought. Then we're on to lap 16 then, and only 5 drivers have a penalty as it stands. And we'll have a look at the penalty situation. Then it's 3 seconds for everybody apart from Reflection, who's got 6 seconds, which is bad news then for the Alpine driver then. But we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold, I should say, then for the end of this Grand Prix as well. Then right then, where are the rest of the battles? Then 4 seconds, the gap between Ginner and the race leader of MHD Nick. Then can Dylan get an undercut then on the AlphaTauri? Then will the AlphaTauri come into the pit lane now? Yes, he will. Then from the race lead, he's calling it there on the hard compound tyres onto lap 17. Into the pits comes Nameless as well. Then following the AlphaTauri in as well as we go through the very nice pit lane entry. Then Fast coming in the pit lane as well as he's calling it a day. Then same for Mr. Elite. Then he's only done 12 laps then as Mr. Elite, so he's done much less laps than those ahead of him as well. But he's coming in the pit lane nonetheless. And same for Reflection off those medium compound tyres. Then Ginner takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Then we've got Mumford on all over the back of him as well. That we're not all over the back just yet. Then he's 1 second or so away from the lead of the Grand Prix as it stands. Then of course there's still pit stops I think to come for a few drivers out there. Dylan comes out of the pit lane. Where is he going to be? Sorry, MHD comes out of the pit lane, and he is behind Dylan by over a second then as well. Dylan with the undercut then. Fantastic stuff indeed. We've had what's that? Nameless coming out of the pit lane now into P10. Fast into a P11, then R2B then on the hard compound tyres looking to get himself into that range then at least then as quickly as possible. Then Max then is going to be catching up to that Aston Martin on those fresh medium compound tyres very quickly indeed. As 300p then has dropped down to P15, then Reflection P16, and unfortunately Craig R, he's doing a great job of soldiering on out there, but unfortunately Craig R has been lapped then after pitting at the wrong time under the first safety, or the only safety car on lap 4. But there we go then. So far so good then for the rest of the pack then. Here comes Mumford. He's within DRS range now. Those hard compound tyres holding on a lot better than the medium compound tyres at this stage. Will Jenner come in the pit lane? No, he will not, but Mumford will. And Mumford is coming into the box and he's calling it down on those hard compound tyres now. And pitting once again then pitting for the first time for the AlphaTauri driver. Then this is we've got RNG Rackman carrying on then, same for Irvine as well. And I think these drivers then who did pit under the safety car now trying to use the maximum pace they've got then left in these tyres, with only about, well, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 laps left in them before they have to come in the pit lane again. I would imagine then Mumford coming down the pit lane now. Dylan has gone fastest, then he set the fastest lap on lap 17 onto lap 18. MHD is just outside of that 1 second range, and which is going to be glorious then for DRS, but not quite then. Same for Gordo as well. He's 1.7 seconds behind the top 2, but Gordo then is currently in a net P3, I imagine. Depending on whether the top 3 try and get to the end on those tyres, we might see them try and stay out. Then we'll have to wait and see. Here comes Nameless all over the back of Riyadh then as we go in towards turn 4. Can he make a move into turn 4? Not quite. Then he's all over the back now of the Alpine, then into turn 5 as well. Then here he goes, then down the inside, but it's going to turn to the outside on the hairpin. And around the outside we go then for Nameless. Can he hold it is the question. Can he hold it is the question, but not quite. I don't think then. He's going to go late on the brakes, is he? No, not quite as well. Then Riyadh then is there. You can't go down the inside there when the car's turning in. And unfortunately for Nameless, then it looks like it's gone. But oh my goodness me. And he's gone through. Oh my goodness me. There's contact between the two of them as well. And Riyadh, what is Riyadh doing there? He's off the circuit completely. Then is Riyadh. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But Riyadh then was... I think he was at fault then. I think he was trying to let the other car go back through. Gino is in the pit then. He's done 12 laps on the medium compound tyres. Irvine carries on then. He's soldering on those hard compound tyres and takes the race lead. So he is looking strong out there at the moment as well. Then RNG Rupp is in the pits as well. Then Dylan takes back P2. MHD Nick is within DRS range now of the McLaren as we go into turn 1, but he's not made the move then for the race lead. He set the fastest lap then. Gino is coming out the pit lane now. He's on to a set of medium compound tyres. Where he's going to come out into relation of this battle then. There's a Ferrari, there's an AlphaTauri, there's a Ferrari, there's a Ferrari of Mags then trying to go down the inside then of Mumford as we go through turns 1 and 2. Around the outside, no, but not quite. Then Mumford holds on for the time being and trying to set him up for a move then into turn 3 and maybe into turn 4 as well. Then they're going to go around the outside then is the Ferrari. That's going to be tasty stuff indeed, and he can hold it, but he can't quite. He stays down in P9 for the time being. Then there is a car. There's some Nameless there. That DRS light flashing away then for the Red Bull car. Like I said very early on, then the DRS is going to be a bit of an issue around this circuit, and I think it already is rearing its ugly head then for Nameless in the Red Bull car. Unfortunately for him, then I think there's going to be a few other drivers that are going to be the same as well. Then out in front, yellow flags. We've got yellow flags. I think it's for Craig Hodge letting the drivers through. Yes, it is. Fine, blimey. RNG Ruck picks up another penalty. Unfortunately for RNG Ruck, he's on a fresh set of medium compound tyres then and trying to chase down Craig Hodge. Picks up a penalty as well then, but he is unfortunately being lapped then. 3.5 seconds is the gap between the race leader and Dylan in P2 on fresh medium compound tyres. Vessia picks up a penalty as well. That's bad news for Vessia. Then here comes MHD Nick. Then can he make a move for P2, which is, well, I think it would be a net P1 on the circuit, that is, and depending on what Irvine's up to, but he's got to do another 9 laps then on those hard compound tyres, which is going to be very difficult indeed. I would imagine Irvine will have to come into the pit lane very soon, but we will have to wait and see what he wants to do. Then is the strategy. Then of course those tyres might start to pop then before he gets to the checkered flag. If he wants to carry on those tyres, we will wait and see. Then Nameless then all over the back of Favre, then it can't quite make himself get himself that position. Then into P6, then Favre, his ERS light flashing as well then, so a lot of drivers out there harvesting as we go through into turn 4. Mumford now all over the back then. The tyres are going to be the interesting point here as well then, as well as the ERS, as well as the fuel. I think the fuel the drivers can tackle before we start the race there. I think they're very familiar with the fuel levels. It's just tackling the ERS and the tyre wear as well now, which are going to become the major factors toward the end of this race as well then, as we go into sector 2. Mumford now all over the back now of this pair as well. Those two, we saw the ERS lights flashing as well, then that could be a very good indicator for Mumford then to try and make himself as large in those wing mirrors as possible. Then Gino picks up a penalty then down in P10 then on the freshest medium compound tyres on the grid, apart from RNG Ruck then, who is going to be trying to get himself into the order as well very soon. But so far we've got Irvine in the pit lane. Sorry, I completely missed him. And Irvine's on the race lead into the box then, so he is coming in from those hard compound tyres. He's done 15 laps on the hard. He's got, what is that, 9 laps to go then, as Dylan then has sat in behind the AlphaTauri then. Gordo then takes P3. Vessia then is back in within DRS range now of the Mercedes as we go into turn 1 there and trying to make a potentially line up a move then, not quite into turn 1 then. Mags, oh my goodness me, there's 4 wide then as we go into turn 1 then, and round the outside goes the AlphaTauri then of Mumford. Then he holds the place then just about then ahead of the Ferrari. There's a Haas involved there as well then. And oh my goodness me, that was close stuff indeed. And all of them, I think, are flashing away then with their EOS lights there. They're going to turn 4 now, then not side by side, but single file, which pretty much is a single file corner. This is going to be good stuff for Jinnah. Then he can catch up to this fighting pack then. But Mumford then, I think, going around the outside, then optimising that line as well. He's on the fresher tyres, apart from Jinnah now in this fight as well then. So that is going to be very enticing stuff indeed. R2B has got himself into the top 10 on a fresh set of hard compound tyres and no penalties as it stands as well. I might have cursed him, so I'm very sorry to say that if he does get a penalty in the next 8 laps or so, but he has done a good job so far out there as well then, so fair play to R2B. But there's still quite a lot of position changes to come. I think then there's going to be all sorts of changes. Then we've got Gordo and Gordo and Vessia battling away. Then we've got Mumford, Nameless, Farf, Mags, Jinnah, and R2B has joined the fight as well then. So there's quite a lot of fighting then for the for P4 or P5 down to P10 as it stands. Then 6 drivers involved as we go through on to lap 22 now as well. Then this is going to get spicy indeed. Then Vessia is going to take that place then away from Gordo. Then he's up into the podium places, but the penalty situation is not in his favour. We will come back to that because here comes Mumford then on the attack then into turn 1 around the outside again. Can he hold the position? That's this time on the Red Bull then down the inside of turn 2. Holding this one now nicely indeed and trying to leave space at the same time, but he has done very well. Here comes Mumford then on the attack. Then can he get the position into turn 4? Yes, he can. He's up into P5 ahead of Nameless as well now. Good stuff indeed. And great battling between the two as well as we go through turn 2, 1 and 2 side by side as well. Great stuff indeed. Then Mumford now takes P5. Can he chase down Gordo is the question, and can his tyres hold on to the end of the Grand Prix as well? Then that is the other question. To be fair, there's quite a lot of questions out there at the moment, but I'm sure we will have them answered at the end of lap 29 hopefully. But we'll wait and see then. Mumford now trying to get himself in that 1 second window of Gordo. Then that would be very helpful indeed to try and fend off the interest from behind as well. Then Cole Palmer has scored for Chelsea. That is great news indeed. I'm not quite sure what the score is, but I know that Cole Palmer has scored, and Nameless picked up a penalty. That is bad news for Nameless. Then he's struggling then through sector 3 as it's that's been his 3rd track limits warning then for the Red Bull car. Now we get ourselves on to lap 23 then. I think Mumford just about crept into that DRS window. Did he just about in that 1 second window then of the Mercedes ahead? No, he didn't, not quite. Then he's losing time down the main straight, so unfortunately that is him not being able to improve as we go round the outside for Gordo. Can he hold the position this time just like his AlphaTauri counterpart then of Mumford? But not quite. Then he has to slot it back in behind, then behind Vessia, then 7 seconds the gap between the top 2. Dylan has lost out to MHD Nick, and Nick is now trying to sprint away then for this race win here in Qatar. Gordo then into P4, then he's lost out to, or not been able to get himself past Vessia, and then he's all over the back now of the Alfa Romeo. Then very soon I think those hard compound tyres are going to be the favourable tyre in the next few laps or so. Then we've got a 3 second penalty, for track limits as well. The penalty starting to roll in here as a reflection as Sweet is off the circuit. Then at the hairpin he's lost the traction unfortunately. Then for the McLaren he's off the circuit, he's back underway, but unfortunately losing out to RNG Ruck and to Reflection at the same time into that corner. Oh my goodness me. You've got to watch this battle here because there's quite a battle going on now. It's for the final podium place here, all the way down to P10. So it's going to be spicy stuff indeed, I think, then in the next few laps or so. Lap 23 then, we're going to be on to lap 24 momentarily then as we go into the penultimate corner. Then for Gordo, he's going to be trying to line up a move then on the back of the Alfa Romeo of Vessia. Then as we go through the final corner now then onto lap 24 then in the lead. Then in the background then we can see MHD Nick going through turn 1, Dylan and closely behind them. But here comes Gordo then on the attack. Then can he get himself into P3 on track is the question. Then into P3 we go then, not quite. Then into turn 1, almost into the back then of the Alfa Romeo. Then in the background, no moves made for the rest of the field. Then Farf then he's trying to keep hold of the places. Then he's almost losing out then to Nameless as it stands. Then he's just over that, or just under that 1 second gap then, which he needs to hold on to that DRS. Then the DRS now is not going to be in his favour. Then he's over 1 second now, and Max could be getting interested in the back of that Haas car very shortly. Then Riyadh has picked up the fastest lap point on the soft compound tyres. Then he's going to be going for that fastest lap point here in Qatar. Driver of the day poll is out in the comment section. Then get your votes in then, guys. Dylan, Gordo, Vassia and Mumford are your candidates. Then for driver of the day, we'll have a look at the position changes very quickly as Mumford has gained three. Where are we? Mumford has gained 3 places then. And, sorry, where are we? We're looking at Mumford, who's gained 3 places. Then Vassia has gained 7 places, but of course has that penalty to be added onto his race time. Dylan has gained a place. He's in P2. And Gordo has gained 3 places and he's in P4, but a net P3 as it stands. Then, of course, with the penalty situation in Vassia, that will demote him down. Where will that demote him down? That will demote him down almost to, I think, down to P8 potentially, or down to P6 at least. So unfortunately, that is going to be very big stuff indeed. Then for Vassia, then that penalty then is going to be very costly. As Gordo then is struggling on those hard compound tyres. Mumford now is all over the back of him, but Gordo still has that DRS to try and defend then, or try and use as a defensive mechanism then to try and fend off the likes of Mumford and the likes of Nameless then as we go into turn 1 once again. He has held on to the place for the time being, but blimey, it's going to get a tense affair, I think. Then we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold. Then ERS lights flashing away then in the background as Gordo, I think, is harvesting a lot of ERS, then trying to harvest as much ERS as he can. But now I think this is going to open the door then to those who have got some ERS in the tanks as well. Then Gordo then trying to keep the car on the track as we go through into the hairpin now, sector 2. Mumford as well struggling through there, as I think we're going to start to see the tyres start to fade out in this race as well. Then we'll have to switch the tyre compound to see what's going on then. Vetsia has got 3 seconds of penalties, then the same for Nameless, the same for Favre, the same for Mr. Elite, and the same for Craig R. Then everybody else has got more penalties or none. So 6 seconds for Ginner, then 6 for 300p, then, and 12 now for Reflection. Unfortunately, then Reflection having a great time out there as well. 9 for RNG Ruckden, and we've got, I think we have Favre getting some penalties as well. There we go. But so far so good. Onto lap 25 we go then, starting off lap 26 now as well as we go into the penultimate corner then for the Mercedes. Then we're watching this battle here because this is the battle from P3 down to P10 as it stands then, just about. Then Riyadh picks up a penalty now, unfortunately for Riyadh, but he's got the fastest lap point as it stands. That's going to himself and the Alpine team. If he can hold on to it is the question though, as we go down the main straight once again onto lap 26. Then here comes Gordon then on the attack, but he's not close enough to make a move then into turn 1. Then Nameless looking to make a move then on Mumford, but not quite as well. Then he's 6 behind in P6 for the time being. We've got Reflection and RNG Ruck then switching places into turn 1. Reflection now up into P12, then trying to chase down the pack ahead as well. Can he get himself into the range and of some points? Potentially, we'll have to wait and see. The penalty situation is not in his favour though, which is, oh dear, I've just smacked my mic with the other mic. So there we go then. But it's not in his favour, unfortunately. Reflection as we go almost a minute back, then far from the Max. He is trying to get himself back in this Grand Prix, and currently he is going to gain himself 3 places then with the penalty situation then for the drivers ahead of him. That's Farf, that's Nameless, that's Vestia as well then. So he will gain 3 places then, but he'll finish P5, I should say, with 10 points to his name then. Not where he wants to be, not where the championship leader is familiar with being as well then, to be fair. Mumford now all over the back of Gordon as we go through into Sector 3. That ERS light for Gordo is not a friendly foe for the Mercedes then, but it's going to be very enticing then for the AlphaTauri then to try and make a move then very quickly indeed then as we go into, oh my goodness me, I thought he almost pushed the Mercedes off the circuit then into the penultimate corner. Then it looked like it was all over the back of him. 300p picks up another penalty, unfortunately for the McLaren. It's not going too well out there then. Gordo now onto the main straight, then he's going to have to try and use that DRS and some ERS if he's got anything left then to try and fight off the AlphaTauri. Here comes Nameless as well then in the Red Bull. Then it's going to get tight indeed then as we go through into turn 1. Down the inside goes Gordo, down the outside goes Mumford. Then there's contact is there between the two of them. Nameless then just avoids the issues with the Mercedes and the AlphaTauri, thankfully. And blimey, that was good racing indeed. And I think Mumford has got the position. Yes, he has. Up into P4 now, potentially a podium place then for Mumford in the AlphaTauri. It could be a double AlphaTauri podium if it stays this way. Mr. Elite picked up a penalty, unfortunately for him. On to lap 27 we go then. And Max is going for a move down the inside then on Faf. Can he hold it? Not quite then. And he's been spun. He spun the Ferrari. I'm not quite sure if there was contact or whether Faf stuck his elbows out. And Max then has been spun around. That could cost him a place in the top 10 as it stands as well then for the Ferrari car. As we go flying through, then he has lost out then to everybody. Then he's down to P15, unfortunately for Mags. And that is very bad news indeed. And RNG Ruck then picks up another penalty. That is bad news for RNG Ruck as well. They could have got himself potentially into the top 10 if it stood in his favour. but not so much. Then Sweet 100p has been, as what's happened to Sweet 100p? Sweet 100p has lost the car as well then in the hairpin, and has been passed by Mags as well then, so repassed by Mags I should say. They're not quite sure if Sweet 100p is not having the greatest of luck out there for sure. Same for Riyadh as well then, same for Craig R, but we are back onto the lead lap, and back onto the penultimate lap as well now for MHD Nick. Then he is flying away then, 3-second penalty for Mags, then corner cutting unfortunately for Mags, not having a great time out there onto lap 28 of 29, then 1 and a bit laps to go here in Qatar. And as it stands, MHD Nick, unless he runs out of fuel, then he's going to get himself a victory here as Mags picks up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane and retires from the session. And that will be unfortunately a licence point then for Mags as well then. Yeah, big shame, of course. He could have gone for the fastest lap and at least got himself a point instead of getting himself a licence point. Could have got himself a point on the standings, that is. Mumford now all over the back of Vessia, then he is flying out there as Mumford. He's pitted later as we got a dive bomb then from Nameless there down the inside. Can Gordo switch back then? He's lost the back end of the car then, but he's held it together just about then as he tries to go around the outside into sector 2. Now Farf then involved as well then, all over the back of the Mercedes as well, but he has not got the grip then on those medium compound tyres, sorry, to hold on then. He's pushing he's really pushing the Mercedes through the corners though, but out in front then, well not out in front then, but in this battle here then for the podium places then, Mumford then all over the back. He's on the freshest medium compound tyres of the order as it stands then. Favre picked up another penalty for his troubles as well, then that is bad news for Favre, then that could demote him outside the top 10. Here we go then into the penultimate corner now. Mumford all over the back then of the Alfa Romeo, then can he make a move into the final corner? Not quite, then he sits behind, then DRS of course going to be available then for the Alpha Tower as we go down the main straight onto the final lap then, as MHD Nick is leading us away then in this race. Then out in front, the top two have really created a sizable gap then, as here comes Mumford then on the attack then down towards the first turn. He's into P3 ahead now of the Alfa Romeo then on merit as well. Then of course he would have been, oh my goodness me, he's almost lost the car going through turn 1 and 2, and no, that could have been very costly indeed for Mumford. That could have cost him a podium place here in Qatar as well then, unfortunately, but thankfully for Mumford's sake then he held it all together then, thankfully for AlphaTauri as well then, because I'm in the AlphaTauri for gold and joint constructors and that sort of thing, so I need the AlphaTauris to do well, and currently they are doing very well. Nameless and Bessie then switching places, sorry, as we go through the hairpin. Then Nameless now ahead then of the Alfa Romeo as well then, dropping down the field then is Vessia then on those older medium compound tyres. He's struggling out there now at this stage of the race, but he's only got a few corners left to go then. As speaking of a driver who's got only a few corners left to go, then we've got MHD Nick then on his second appearance here in silver. Then he is going to come round the final couple of quarters then as RNG Ruck has got himself a penalty, but MHD Nick has not got any penalties then as he comes round into the final corner then for the final time then to finish off the 29 laps here in Qatar. Then MHD Nick then is going to cross the line and take the victory here in Qatar with a fantastic race indeed, and right up to the line then he has done a great job indeed in the AlphaTauri. Then here comes Dylan, then Dylan takes P2 with a fantastic drive as well. Then all in the background, look at that, then they're all flying through as we go down onto the main straight. Then can there be any moves? Will there be any moves as we cross the line? Mumford takes P3, then Gordo P4, Nameless P5, R2 beat in P6, great result from R2 beat in the Aston Martin. Vessia down to P7, then Favre P8, Irvine into P9, a great recovery then from Irvine into P9, then after having a few issues on the opening lap. Then Jenner in P10 rounds off the top 10, I think. Then Mr. Elite in P11, then RNG Ruck then was demoted down, I think. There was Riyadh then up into P12 in the end then, but and Ruck then into P13. But blimey, what a Grand Prix then, 29 laps of absolute pure action then from Silver, and fantastic stuff indeed. There's only one safety car then, that was very early on then on lap 4, and that was the only safety car, the only VSC that we had as well then, so great stuff indeed. And that is fantastic. Well done indeed then to the top 3. There is your race winners, your podium sitters then. MHD Nick takes the win here in Qatar. Dylan in P2, and Mumford with a fantastic drive then rounds off the podium places for the AlphaTauri. So double AlphaTauri podium then, as we've got one McLaren then celebrating with them as well. That is Dylan, of course. Then hopefully they can join us for the commentary, for the interview, sorry, very shortly indeed. Then, but fantastic stuff indeed then for for all the drivers who got to the checkered flag as well. Well done to Craig R then for soldiering on out there as well. Riyadh does get the fastest lap point in the NMP 12. Then there is your order. Then MHD Nick then wins the Grand Prix here in Qatar. Dylan P2, Mumford in P3, Gordo in P4, Nameless down to P5. Then R2B P6, great result from him. Vessia P7 after the penalties, Varf as well P8 after penalties as well. Then Irvine takes P9, great result from Irvine. Jenna rounds off the top 10. Then Mr. Elite in P11. Then Riyadh in P12 with the fastest lap as well for Alpine. RNG Ruck then P13, Reflection P14, Swimmer P in P15, Craig R P16, Mags then retired in the pit lane, so he has cost himself a license point then as well. Same for Kamara Racer, TJ Hale and Justify then did not get to the end of the Grand Prix after retiring in the pit lane. And I think we're joined in the commentary box with some people. We've got ourselves some interviews to do. We'll start then from P3. I think Mumford has joined us. Then Mumford then in P3. What a drive from yourself then. It didn't look like it was going to be going your way, but you pitted under the safety car, I believe. A long time ago, so I can't remember. But you pitted later than everybody else as well on that second stop, and that really helped you towards the end with the fresher medium compound tyres. I don't know if Mumford's joined us. Brilliant. All right, then we'll crack on with somebody else then. All right, then we'll start off with Dylan then, because Dylan, you got P2. I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully you can.
Yeah, I can.
But yeah, good stuff indeed. I thought Mumford was here, but he's not, so never mind. We'll crack on without Mumford, unfortunately. But well done to Mumford in P3 anyway. Dylan then in P2, and you had an epic battle then, especially in the first stint with MHD Nick, I think it is. But you did a great job then, as Mumford has joined us now typically. But we'll crack on with you, Dylan. But yeah, so you had a great battle then with MHD Nick. Did you think you were going to be battling for the whole race, or did you have some issues in the final stint there?
What do you call it? I have a good battle with him, to be quite frankly. It's similar to last week, but it's kind of like he pretty much prevailed on that one. So what do you call it? The first stint, it was me, Max, and MHD was battling away before the safety car came out, and what do you call it? Max was looking for, let's say, a two-stop, try do medium, and like up to stay out, like opposite. And I think MHD did the exact same as well. But overall, the pace is good on the hards. Let's say on the mediums, in fairness, because the mediums I pretty much try to push it to keep up with MHD, but MHD pretty much deserved it on the day.
And you did a great job then of trying to hold on as much as you could then throughout the course of that race as well. Then it's a P2 then for yourself in the championship. Then do you think that's 18 points? 18 points then in your favour then tonight then, or do you think you could have got more?
I think it's more in my favour because like with what you call it, Max retired, like pretty much 18 points gained. Like what you call it. If you said it to me a couple of weeks ago, I would be laughing at myself. Like I thought I was a goner, but actually I put myself back into the championship hunt after the Easter break.
Good stuff indeed. And we've got 4 races remaining now of the season. Then do you think you can take away that title then from Mags potentially and claim the top step?
Who knows? It's kind of like try to focus one race at a time. That's a boring old answer, but I had to say it. Had to keep your eye on one race at a time and had to try to focus on it.
That's very fair play indeed, and way to do it then. Good stuff indeed from Dylan. Then P2 in this race, and a very good result indeed. We'll jump back to Mumford then, because Mumford did join us in the end. But Mumford then, fantastic race indeed. I did say before you joined, but you basically, I think you did you have to confirm it, but you pitted under the safety car, I believe. Then, and of course that meant that you could then pit later for the second stop. Then, and those fresh medium compound tyres at the end of the Grand Prix, I think, gained you that podium. Is that correct?
No, I actually, the hards I was on were from the start. I just saved a lot of batteries, so them couple of extra laps were just me dashing the battery to try and not get undercut.
Good stuff indeed. So that basically shows what I was looking at in this race. And I don't have a clue what was going on, but you did a great job nonetheless. Then another podium under your belt then, and really charging up the standings as well. Then with the great results that you're getting then in the AlphaTauri. And I have to say thank you very much for your AlphaTauri points, because I'm not getting them in gold, so I need them for the joint constructors. But you've done a fantastic job here again. Then do you think you can have you can mount a bit more of a charge then in the last 4 races of the season, or is that is the best you can do then? Is this what you can do? Sorry, is this the best you can do at this stage of the season now?
We'll see. I think this is probably the best I can do. I mean, the pace was really good here in both quali and the race. I also had really good ERS management, which a lot of people around me didn't today. So that's I think that was also a big advantage today, which let me have the podium in the end.
And a fantastic result indeed. Then, do you think you might be able to get yourself a podium in the last 4 races of the season?
We'll see. Obviously depends on circumstances.
Well, good stuff indeed tonight as well. Very well raced here as well then. So congratulations for your podium place then, and thank you very much for the AlphaTauri points as well then, I have to say once again then. We've got MHD then, the race winner then here in the commentary box as well then. Fantastic result then once again for the AlphaTauri, but fantastic result then from you personally as well. Then your second race then, you finished I think P2 in your first silver race last week then, and you got the win here tonight then. So a fantastic result indeed then. Could it have gone any better for you tonight?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fight with Dylan McLaren. I don't know the name exactly, but last week we had also enjoyable fight. In this race, we were working together with the Ferrari in the first stint, but after the safety car, Ferrari I think made a mistake and chose two stopper. But we were working together with McLaren. But in the second stint, I realized that I'm so much faster. So like I tried to pass the McLaren and just could break him out of the DRS, and it was so enjoyable for me.
And a fantastic result once again. You had some great battles with Dylan at the first stint especially. Did you know that you were going to pull away in the second stint on the medium compound tyres, or did you just have to take each lap as it came in with Dylan battling you for the race lead?
You know, at the first, I wouldn't think like I become much faster, because in Japan it was also same. Like in the first stint he was so fast, but in the second one I could catch him. In this race I also was about to work with him. Like I think we continued like 6 or 7 laps after second stint, but after that I realized I'm much faster, so I just chose to pull away from him.
And it was a very good race, very good pace indeed as well then for yourself. Congratulations then for your first race win in ALR. It's only been 2 races, so it can't be too bad. Well done to yourself then, and looking forward to seeing you back in the races in the near future. That is it for silver then tonight. Then we'll be on to bronze tomorrow night then in Qatar once again. Then before we get into the Chinese Grand Prix for 100% on Wednesday night, so stay tuned for that then. Plenty more action coming up then on ALR, and we'll see you very soon.